Osiris the king. You can fire up your word processors and you can send some new work to your printing presses and find a different name for it. NASA, I pity how it is the place of consciousness that some of your operational decisions come from. Folks, here in just a bit we're going to turn our attention to an interview that was pre-recorded for this program, an interview with a subject matter expert. His name is Mr. Jan Irvin, and it's a bit of a departure from this subject matter that we've covered thus far. But I need to return our attention not just to Comet, quote-unquote, Elenin, not just to the asteroid Apophis, not just to the object, the asteroid 2005 YU55. I also need to bring your attention quickly to the presence of what is called Comet Honda, or it's known by its official title of 45P, and there's also Levy, Levy, its official name P/2006 TI. All of these objects, I generically refer to the grouping of them as Elenin's friends, all of these objects bear your further investigation and bear the time and energy required for you to inform yourselves of their presence, of the manner and fashion in which they might be interacting with one another as they make their way through our planetary neighborhood. In the course of this, I also need to talk about how it is that none of these objects might have any impact on us. That's right, you heard me. It is actually the opinion of your humble host that none of these objects is going to result in or cause what you would consider to be the end of the world. None of them. I don't believe that to be the case. I do believe that one or more of them may cause problems for us, but problems that will not result in being the end of the world, quote unquote. Here's another example. Elenin, when it slingshots past the sun, will it remain intact? Will it be broken into fragments, as we saw the comet Shoemaker Levy do before it impacted one of our planetary fellows some number of years back, when it hit the ripples of the gravitational field of that body, when it began to fragment, to split into multiple objects? Perhaps Elenin will do that when it makes its pass around the sun. Perhaps one or some of these fragments will cause these issues. If you check out the YouTube channel or these archives located on bbsradio.com, you'll find an interview I conducted a couple of weeks back with a researcher named Mr. Ali Adams, who is trained in information technology, has a master's degree that has led him into a career in the software industry where he is specialized in cryptography, which is the encoding and decoding of information, and his work using prime numbers, where he's conducted research in the text of the Islamic holy book, the Quran, which has led him to project that there will be 31 different events that we face, each event lasting 4 days in length, beginning on January 7th of 2012, and these 31 events scattered out along the road until we reach November of 2012. Yes, these events might very well pose significant issues for us. But in talking about Elenin, Apophis, YU55, Honda, and these other objects, we have not yet broached the subject of the source and cause of events that could have tremendously significant impact on us and life on Earth, that your humble host does believe is more probable to be the source of these events, and that is our own sun. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our own sun. We have all heard about solar flares. We've heard about what are called CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, which take place. In fact, just over a month ago, or in the neighborhood of a month ago, there was a very large coronal mass ejection that took place, which was not pointed directly at us. In fact, the Earth was only going to be in the path of a peripheral bit of the energetic expulsion made from this coronal mass ejection. And yet, even being on the periphery of it, even catching, in other words, only a bit of the shrapnel of this, it still had the potential to pose enormous problems here on the face of the Earth. And what I would like to point out for you now, as I talk more about solar flares, is the example that NASA's Administrator Charles Bolden has made multiple informational releases internally to NASA employees and contractors along the lines of family and personal preparedness, including the memo that I quote from now, dated Friday, June 10th, 2011. The agency-wide message to all NASA employees, Family and Personal Preparedness Plan. NASA is the only federal agency responsible for its people's safety and well-being here on Earth and in space, and has a long-time commitment to safety and emergency preparedness. Over the past year, Administrator Bolden has emphasized the importance of family and personal preparedness for the entire NASA family. Family and personal preparedness plans are key to protecting our families and communities during potential emergencies such as fires, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, terrorist attacks, and other unforeseen catastrophes. Now, yes, this information comes directly from NASA. They're warning their people to step up, to ramp up their efforts at personal preparedness. I also bring your attention to what is called the National Security and Homeland Security Presidential Directive, NSPD 51, or the Homeland Security Presidential Directive HSPD 20, sometimes simply called Executive Directive 51, which was created and signed by President George W. Bush on May 4th, 2007. And this directive claims power to execute procedures for continuity of the federal government in the event of a catastrophic emergency. Such an emergency is construed as, quote-unquote, any incident, regardless of location, ladies and gentlemen, that results in extraordinary levels of mass casualties, damage, or disruption severely affecting the U.S. population, infrastructure, environment, economy, or government functions. Now, please pay careful attention. The unclassified portion of the directive was posted on the White House website on May 9th, 2007, without any further announcement or press briefings. Oh, yes, the power given to one single individual to they themselves make the declaration of a catastrophic emergency without having to consult with Congress, let alone receive an act of empowerment from Congress. At the stroke of a pen, one single individual has the right to make this declaration of catastrophic emergency. And folks, it can be done over something as simple as a coronal mass ejection, which can have a horrendous and tremendous impact on the Earth, as you will find if you do your research on something that was called the Carrington event, Carrington, the Carrington event of September 1st, 1859, which is regarded by some as the largest coronal mass ejection in history. It was 11:23 a.m., just before dawn that day, just before dawn that day. Before dawn, skies all over planet Earth erupted in red, green, and purple auroras so brilliant that newspapers could be read as easily as in daylight. Indeed, stunning auroras pulsated even at near tropical latitudes over Cuba, the Bahamas, Jamaica, El Salvador. Even more disconcerting, telegraph systems worldwide went haywire. Spark discharges shocked telegraph operators and set the telegraph paper on fire. Even when telegraphers disconnected the batteries powering the lines, aurora-induced electric currents in the wires still allowed messages to be transmitted. Now we know that these solar flares happen frequently, and yet if they were to happen in today's era, it's estimated that a Carrington event size occurrence could result in trillions of dollars of disruption, knocking out satellites, disrupting computer, telephone communication as we know it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to drop this thread for now. We'll pick it up next week. Please begin to do your investigations on coronal mass ejections. Just now, I want to turn our attention to what each one of us can do. This interview with Mr. Jan Irvin, we will explore the subjects of what each of us can do to educate ourselves so that you begin to see through and read between the lines of these meta-disclosures that they make, these cover-ups, these lies that they make. Mr. Jan Irvin is about to tell us techniques that we can use and better understand to see through their lies, to shine light on the truth, Ladies and gentlemen, please join me next week, but for now, tune in to our interview with Mr. Jan Irvin.